So hello, you wonderful citizen of the internet, and welcome to a video about Cybergoth songs with extra dark lyrics. Hello, I am just jumping in here to say something that maybe I don't need to say. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but the internet can be a bit of a mean place sometimes. So I just wanted to say this in the hope of it not being such a mean place. As you can see from the screen, I slept for 12 straight hours immediately prior to making this video, which happens to me precisely never. Like, I don't sleep. But when I do sleep for this long, I undergo a vulgar metamorphosis into a potato smiley. My face puffs up to about 3 times its normal size, and it's quite disconcerting. Maybe it's not for you guys. But I watched this video back and I went, oh my god, I look like the moon's buttered bouncing backside. I look like 70,000 glazed donuts came together, formed a mothership, and tried to eat me. But I just wanted to pop in and say, yeah, you don't need to speculate or anything. I slept for ages and I have a puffy face. I'll be over here deflating. It's okay. You don't need to tell me how puffy I look. I'm aware. I can see it too. So if you're the sort of lovely person who can just laugh off how ridiculous my face looks in this video, then feel free to stick around. You are my sort of person. And sorry for this weird paranoid little intermission. Anyway, here comes a video about Cybergoth lyrics that are very, 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 very dark. Oh, and I should probably say a bit of a trigger warning for this video for like dark subject matter, because there is quite a lot of dark subject matter in this video. But maybe my bouncing potato smiley of a face will take your mind off it and cheer you up and uplift you. I don't know. But anyway, here comes a video about dark Cybergoth lyrics. Thanks for tolerating this shit show. Okay. I was listening to some things the other day and some of these popped up and I was like, this is interesting. I don't know how like modern teenagers would feel about some of these songs, because most of these songs are a good few years old. The subject matter is very dark. Some of them literally contain samples, like news samples of people screaming out in terror in certain like massive disaster incidents. And these days, with the fact that there's been like a huge flip around in terms of like certain things you can say in lyrics and certain things you can't. Like Gen Z is not okay with ironic, sarcastic, kind of mocking quotes of like bigoted people. Like, it used to be a big thing that if you wanted to write a lyric about how someone was bigoted, you would potentially use the bigoted words they would use because you were quoting them, you were mocking what they were saying. Gen Z takes everything way too literally in terms of this, and it's like, but this guy said this word! It's like, in the context of saying this is said and this is not okay, you know? So there's certain things you can't say, and I'm kind of intrigued as to, okay, if that's not okay, what about these songs? Because I have to say, everything I have on my list, I have to... certified bangers, all of them. They are all amazing songs. And this is what's so weird about it. Because obviously, like, all genres have songs that have, like, dark lyrics and that have dark inspiration. You know, you've got, is it Stairway to Heaven? That's about the dude's kid who fell out of the window and that, like, literally happened and he died. But the thing is, like, that... it sounds like a sad song, right? Most genres of music, when they write a dark song with dark inspiration and it's like dark lyrically, it sounds quite sad. It makes you cry. And then like Cybergoth comes along and there's all these really, really, really dark inspirations. Like, 2 of the examples here are people singing about their dead parents, who, not in like a horrible, like, I hated you, you bastard way, like literally parents they loved who've passed away. And instead of it being like this tragic piano ballad, it's a certified banger. Like, it's you're raving away in these clubs to songs that you're suddenly like, did I hear that right? And it's very strange because obviously you've got trad goth music, which has like a lot of dark themes and a lot of kind of morbid poetry and all of this. But again, it tends to sound quite sort of quite morbid. But then, as I say, Cybergoth comes along. Cybergoth doesn't give a fuck. Cybergoth just chucks all of that in there with the certified bangers, and the heavier and the faster and the more dancey it is, the more bleak the lyrics often are. and it's just really weird and brilliant, I think, because it's just so strange. And I have always loved songs where you're dancing to them, but you're also listening and you're also getting the lyrics, and the lyrics aren't shit. I really like that. Like, I'm definitely more of a lyrics person than a music person. There's not many bands I listen to that don't have a vocalist, for instance. Like, there have to be words for me to be really engaged in a song. So I'm always intrigued by this. But anyway, I guess we'll jump in. We're going to escalate in this video. I think we're gonna start at dark and sad, and then we're going to escalate into really, really horrible. Really, like, I don't know where the world stands on this subject matter being used in a song in this way anymore. We'll get to that at the end. But the first one that popped to mind, really, apart from the one that we'll be talking about at the end, which is the one that kind of inspired this video. The first one I wanted to talk about was the classic Assemblage 23's song Disappoint, which is about Tom Shear's father, who died from suicide in 1999. So, like, Assemblage 23 they are, as far as I'm concerned, they are like hands down the most lyrically brilliant. I don't know where they pitch themselves, like future pop. I'm terrible at genre diagnosing songs. I can't do it. Like, as far as I'm concerned, this all falls kind of under the Cybergoth umbrella. Some of it's EBM, some of it's industrial, some of it's future pop. The labels seem to shift and change all the time. I don't know, but we'll call it all Cybergoth. But as far as the Cybergoth genre goes, Assemblage 23, as far as I'm concerned, like, are the lyrical kings. They are amazing. VMV Nation are up there too, but theirs tends to be more of a theoretical sort of, and I've seen, actually, when I was Googling about this, a lot of people seem to think that VMV Nation are a Christian band because they have a lot of theological kind of debates in their songs and things. So their lyrics are brilliant, but they're quite ephemeral, you know. Whereas Assemblage 23 talk about real shit that's going on in real life, and they do it with such poetry. So anyway, Disappoint, some of the lyrics to Disappoint, I really hate reading lyrics, you know, because you hear them in the rhythm of the song, and it's very hard to read them without sounding weird. But anyway, here goes. Give me the chance I was denied to sit and talk with you one last time. Did I disappoint you? Did I let you down? Did I stand on the shore and watch you as you drowned? Can you forgive me? I never knew the pain you carried deep inside of you. And it's like, it's so sad, but like, if you go to a club and it's played, there's like people Cybergoth dancing to the thing, and it's such a weird juxtaposition. It really is. And then you've got the bit that has got to be about seeing the suicide note. I can't forget having to see the words that knock the wind right out of me. It's not enough. I've come undone, trying to find sense where there is none. Though you are gone, I am still your son, and while your pain is over, mine has just begun. And it starts with a sample, I think, from a movie that says, do you believe in the nobility of suicide? No. So it's I like the fact they didn't go off like really, really, really anti-suicide, you know, like, you selfish bastard, why did you do this to me? You know, like, I'm glad they didn't go down that route. Because I think suicide is such a complex issue, and everyone's circumstance who attempts it or thinks of it is different. And I don't think you can generalize in any way, nor do I think words like selfishness have any place in a conversation about someone who's in so much pain that they're willing to ditch everything they've ever known and loved, the people they've known, loved, the things they've known and loved, and hurl themselves headfirst into an unknown abyss of like that contains, they don't know where they're going, they don't know what they're doing. And also, you know, the gas smells awful poem, all methods of suicide are pretty fucking gnarly, not going to be a pleasant experience. It's not like someone just deciding, wake up, choose violence. You know, it's more than that. So anyway, I think Disappoint is beautifully, beautifully, beautifully written, and it's a gorgeous song and certified banger. Very, very good track. But yeah, it's weird, and the more you dig into like what it's about and all of this, the weirder it gets when you hear it in clubs. And I do have to give like I haven't actually got this on my list, so I haven't got the lyrics, and this is all chaos and spontaneity. But I do have to give an honourable mention also to Assemblage 23's song "Let Me Be Your Armour." I don't know actually what the original intention behind that song was. Some people think it's about an abusive relationship. It could be about an abusive relationship. For me, I've always heard it like it used to be my signature on like the Eating Disorder forum used to be a quote from that song, because it reads very much about eating disorders or addictions or anything. It starts out like you've got this thing in your life or this person in your life that's very supportive, and it's like, let me help you with this, let me do this, let me take the blows that were meant for you, let me help you with the trials you're going through. And then it kind of accelerates, and by the end of the song it's like this thing is stifling you and fighting you for control and smothering every aspect of your soul. And it's a really beautifully written song, and again it's not like a mournful slow ballad, it is like a dance track. And that's the one that would always be a bit of a head fuck when I was like out clubbing. If they played "Let Me Be Your Armour," like I would have to dance to it, but at the same time I'd be like, this is making me think a bit too much and it's a bit depressing, but keep dancing. So anyway, the next one on my list, another jolly subject. We've got somebody's dad dying from cancer is the next subject on the list. This, however, brought together the most amazing kind of super band / project that I think the Cybergoth world has ever really seen. Cybergoth / goth world. I mean, Cybergoth and goth have kind of become mated by this common law marriage. You've been hearing them both at the same clubs and the same festivals for so many years that, you know, back in about 2001, it used to be very much a case of, this is not, you know, even bands like Covenant, VMV Nation, this is not goth, get it out of my fucking club. And now it's so mated in a common law marriage. There's not much you can say or do about this. This is not goth, or this is goth. It's a battle that has long been lost. It's not worth fighting about. But anyway, the project it was a New York DJ, Rex Arcana, apparently, who his father died from cancer, and it brought together like basically every notable name in the kind of future pop and a bit of EBM scene, in a project called Bruderschaft, which I think translates as Brotherhood. I think that's what it is. And so they've got VMV Nation's guy on vocals, they've got Icon of Coil, they've got Covenant, they've got Apoptygma Berserk in the main crew, and then they've got remixes by like fucking everybody. Like everyone you've ever heard of has done a remix. I really like the Colony 5 one personally. But when I was reading the lyrics, it's funny because Bruderschaft's song Forever, which is about the dad who died of cancer, when you hear it as a song, it is incredibly emotive and sweeping and gorgeous and brutal. But when you see the lyrics written down, you don't really get so much of that wallop, which is kind of weird. I've never read the lyrics like as poetry before. So it's a really interesting mating of like music and lyrics with this one, that they've really come together and made something far more emotional than like either part separately. But anyway, this one, I will walk this ground forever and stand guard against your name. I will give all I can offer. I will shoulder all the blame. I am sentry to you now, all your hopes and all your dreams. I will hold you to the light. That's what forever means. Take solace in these words. Take notice of this place. Hollow whispers that they are, like the wind upon my face. Sing softly in my ear and look at me with wonder. I will try to ease your fear as the darkness pulls you under. So this is a bit sad. It's a bit sad and bleak. But it's particularly some of the remixes that I really like. Like there's all sorts of remixes that I've seen of this song. There's like kind of like gabbery hardstyley remixes, which are kind of suck all the emotion out of it, but are quite danceable anyway. The Colony 5 one, I like. It's in typical Colony 5 style. It's quite flowery and quite synthy and quite kind of swirly with the synths. So it's again very jarring with the subject matter. And then just before we get on to the really heavy one, I did have to throw in kind of an sort of honourable mention to SITD. going more in the heavier sort of EBM industrial direction now. They've got a song called Laughing Stock, which is about Columbine. But the thing with SITD, I love his vocals. I love his accent. But their downside seems to be, I don't know whether it's a bit of a language barrier thing, because their lyrics are often quite basic and quite simple, and you're like, you could have gone into so much depth on this subject and you didn't, and it's kind of disappointing to me, because all you get with Laughing Stock, the Columbine song, is bloody gunshot crime, death at Columbine, where were you, God, as they run amok, to hell with Jesus Christ, death needs no compromise, which honestly sounds a bit more like a metal, heavy metal, black metal sort of song. I feel like if you were going to write a song about Columbine, I feel like you could go way more gory and dark than that. Or to put that considerably better, you could make it more detailed. And I think that is important. I think if you're going to write a song about something dark and shocking, I think it's very, very, very important that it has some sort of creative merit. And I had to interrupt the editing to say this because I was thinking more about these songs and I was like, well, which one for my money is actually the most offensive? And I would have to say this one is the most offensive, despite the fact it's got hardly any words in it. I say this one is the most offensive because it completely lacks creative merit. The song we're going to be discussing at the end, I have no idea what thoughts you're going to have on that one, but I do think the song at the end has genuine merit to it. And we'll get to that. But the problem with Laughing Stock is that it's purely cheap gratuitousness in using Columbine as the inspiration, because you could pluck the word Columbine out of this song and it would run just fine. It is a basic EBM industrial lyrical template with Columbine tossed into there for cheap gratuitous kind of, spooky thrills that you hear the word Columbine, you go, oh wow, this song is suddenly deep. But then you listen to the rest of the lyrics, it's not deep. It's not a thoughtful, poetical snapshot of how people were feeling at the time of the tragedy. It's not wrestling with the subject of gun crime. It's not wrestling with God, how awful must it be to be in the middle of one of these things? Imagine what it's like. And it's not thoughtful in any way. It's not giving you anything back, and maybe I'm being too harsh on a band who may, as I say, have language barrier issues with writing lyrics in English. Admittedly, there is some samples at the beginning of Laughing Stock, and I think another one in the middle. It's in German, and it's quite rapid German, and I couldn't make it out apart from the words 25th of April, which was strange because I seem to recall that Columbine happened on the 20th of April, not the 25th. So I don't know what the sample is about, or if the sample is incorrect, or or maybe I'm incorrect. I'm not sure, but I seem to recall Hitler's birthday, 20th of April. I thought that was when Columbine was. Maybe I'm wrong. So there is a bit more in Laughing Stock that I can't decode because I don't understand rapid German. It's been too long since I did my GCSE. There is a bit more that I couldn't get. But as far as the actual lyrics of the song, yeah, it doesn't give you enough creatively, thoughtfully, poetically to warrant using such a shocking occasion as inspiration to my mind. So I would say, it's not desperately offensive for that, but because of the fact that all the other songs have a great deal of creative merit and this one kind of doesn't, I have to say, yeah, if I was to be offended by any of them, I would be offended by the cheap tactics of this one. Anyway, with that said, back to the video. But yeah, it kind of jars you because it is such a good song, and then you hear death at Columbine, and you're like, ooh, this is heavier than I expected. Okay, but anyway, moving on to the final one, and this is the really I'm really intrigued to hear people's thoughts on this, because It is about 9/11. It is about 9/11. So far, to date, I have heard two songs, two bands grab their balls in their hand and step up and sing a song about 9/11. One of them was actually Stroke 9, who did that Kick Some Ass song. How many people want to kick some ass? That one. They remade it with 9/11 lyrics in the days and weeks after 9/11, and I think it's still on YouTube, the version that they did. They changed the lyrics of, like, oh god, how does the original go? But I'm really just a sensitive artist, to but I know violence is no answer to violence, was kind of their 9/11 remake. That they had like a lot of things about how it used to feel safe here and suddenly it doesn't feel safe anymore, but it's brought us all together now, but violence is no answer to violence, even though I want to go kick some ass, kind of thing, was their song. However, Bull, the band we're going to be talking about now, their song Thanks for Playing, the only reason it's really in this, like, is that how do people feel about this now though category, is the heavy use of samples from the time. And I think this song, even if you think it's tasteless, awful, an abomination, I think this song needs to stand, because it is such a moment in time, and also such a gathering place for the quotes that you were hearing on the TV when 9/11 happened and in the days and weeks that followed. Like, some of these quotes, they must have been sitting, like, because obviously this was 2001, it happened. The technology was not great at the time. They must have been sitting by the TV with a fucking tape recorder for weeks, getting all of this down, getting all these samples that, like, I defy you to find all these samples anywhere else, like in one singular place. And I also think it just gives a really honest, punchy, just snapshot of how people were feeling, kind of, particularly like American people, I imagine, were feeling after 9/11. Anyway, it's called Thanks for Playing With Us, like the us is capitalized, so it's like a pun on US, us. And anyway, the lyrics themselves, the lyrics to the song are not that like heavy or anything, it's the samples that do it. So the lyrics, you've got things like, so many minds gone in time, so many eyes no longer shine, even the ones who gave a hand, what kind of world, what kind of man, pillar of power, powder and dust, who do we turn to, who do we trust? One day you had your way, you had your turn, you had your say, and now it's time for you to pay for fucking with the USA. It's a very vengeful, angry, bouncy sort of song. Hope you had a good time killing wives, women and children under 5. Now that you've ran and took the dive, how does it feel to be dead alive? Awake a sleeping giant and unleash the wrath of Zion. You can make our towers tumble, but our spirits will not crumble. You killed our sons and brothers and our sisters and our mothers. Now a rival like no other is intent to make you suffer. And then there's like a wealth of sampled quotes on there. You've got various things from like all airports across the country. Every airport in the US has been shut down. Someone just saying sheer terror. The one that I find the darkest is the bit that says, even the dogs didn't find people. And you're hearing a quote from, like, at the time, this is probably, I mean, I remember seeing a lot of these quotes on the TV, and I think it was one of the head firefighters being like, yeah, even the dogs didn't find people. He's got like a bit of a Boston accent, and there is no script for what to say. There is no script for how to feel. Make no mistake about it, our armed forces are ready. The guy who says that bit, I don't know if he's like the head of the security forces in the US, but his voice, his voice is, they've put him forward clearly on the speaking thing, because I've never heard such a, like, Captain America, this guy is gonna kick some ass all over the world, everything's going to be okay kind of voice. So it's fascinating to hear these quotes again, like, it really is. You've got things like, and then more panicky ones, like in the moment when they were literally interviewing people who just got out of the Twin Towers, or who'd been, running through all the paper and all the dust and all the debris that was blowing through the streets. And someone saying, I hope I live, coming down on me. Back to back, they hit the Pentagon. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. They did not lash out. They did not strike first and think after. Their very deliberation is the measure of the seriousness of their intent. The one, I haven't got it. Oh, yeah. There's the one that again makes me slightly uncomfortable is a woman who I think I remember this one. I think she was being interviewed literally while, I don't even know if the second plane had hit. I think it had, but it was very fresh. The buildings hadn't come down yet. It was still the bit where you were watching looping on the TV. the people jumping hand in hand and the funk sound of them coming down. And there was a woman who was interviewed at the time, and she's saying people jumping out the windows like, I don't know, and then you just hear screams, and that's a sample in there too. Although they've got some samples that do really work from a kind of like musical perspective. There's even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, and then it comes in with a huge bass drop, and like, I'm so conflicted, dude. It's such a good song. I first heard it in, I think, 2004. If you've seen any of the Nostalgia Project or read my book Millennium Gothic, you will know Ricky, the slightly sociopathic guy who was kind of my dealer and fuck buddy for a while. I literally remember the place I first was when I first heard this song. I was at Ricky's house. We'd had like a big all-nighter the night before, and then his roommate Chaos came in and he was like, oh my God, you've got to hear this song. And he played it for us on some like weird little like handheld tape player or something. I was like, yeah, that's interesting, because Bull have a very unique sound anyway. They're quite a jarring sounding, but I love a lot of their stuff. But they're quite a jarring kind of sound. I eventually got him to like ship me over a digital copy of Thanks for Playing With Us. I got it shipped over, and I was like, yeah, this is probably the darkest thing I've ever heard in terms of the samples and everything, but at the same time, it is such a banger. But it's, yeah, as I said, I think it just gives a really good snapshot of how American kids were feeling, because this was released on a 2002 album, so literally within probably less than a year, because obviously it was like September 9/11, so obviously like less than a year after that happened they released this, so it's very much like an instantaneous clapback of how they were feeling at the time. And the vibe you get from it is very vengeful, very like, oh, you fucking done it now, we are gonna fucking pound your ass into the sand kind of thing. And that was the vibe of people for quite some time after 9/11. You know, there were, like, I'm obviously not going to repeat them, but I do remember a lot of the really disgusting slurs that were going around about people, you know, anyone who looked kind of Arabic, I guess. The vibe in England, probably even more so in America, was very much like, yeah, we're gonna get them, it's gonna be over in no time, we're gonna plow these motherfuckers into the ground. And obviously the war or slash kind of wars rolled on, and everyone got more and more and more demoralized and confused, and you know, the whole WMDs thing blew up and turned out to be bullshit and an excuse, and it's too much of a complicated subject for me to even comment on from there. It didn't go as anyone thought it would go in the beginning, but yeah, all of these songs, I will leave these songs listed below, and I will try and leave a link to all of them on YouTube so you can hear them, because Thanks for Playing is definitely on YouTube. I did note last time I saw it that the comments are all switched off, which does make me think, are people in this day and age absolutely horrified by this track now? Like, do they just not vibe with this track? But as I say, I think even if you think like, what the literal fuck is this? What the fuck are you doing putting like bass drops with this? Like, as I say, the collection of samples, like news samples and like in the moment news snippets, is unparalleled. Like, if you're writing an essay about 9/11, if you're writing anything like that, I think it's a good place to go to get how people were feeling, but also those clips and just the chilling nature of those clips, particularly, as I say, the one about even the dogs didn't find people, that one every time. So yeah, I don't know, give me your thoughts. And are there any I'm missing as well? Like, I did ask friends, and I got given quite a lot of like dark themed kind of gothy and EBM things, but I was like, no, I really want ones that are rooted in actual truth. So ones that have like a true backstory, or that relate to actual horrible tragedies that have happened in the world, but set to like a really, really banging beat that just jars with the subject matter. That was kind of what I was looking for this video. So if anyone has any other tracks that fit that remit, please, please, please link them below and give me the backstory and things like that, because it's such an interesting subject, I find. And whether any tracks like this have been dropped in recent years would be interesting to know too. Like, have things got slightly more muted / possibly tasteful in recent years when it comes to like the use of samples and things? Because I know there's more sample tracks out there, although most of the ones I'm thinking of are from movies. Like there's a lot of really dark samples used from movies, which is interesting. I was going to include that if I could remember them, and I couldn't. But ones use like samples from the actual TV. Admittedly, I should probably say I did kind of grow up on this sort of thing, because what I also wanted to mention was the Manic Street Preachers. Nothing to do with Cybergoth whatsoever, so completely off topic really, but I kind of grew up with the Manic Street Preachers and their heavy use of news samples and things like that. So that might explain why I'm not particularly horrified by the samples in Thanks for Playing. Because, yeah, when you've got things like in a Manic Street Preachers song from the Holy Bible, The Intense Humming of Evil, there's an extract from a report on the Nuremberg trials which says, "From the ditch at Kirch the dead will rise. They will arise from the graves. They will arise from the flames, bringing with them the acrid smoke and the deathly odour of scorched and martyred Europe. And the children, they too will come, stern and merciless. The butchers had no pity on them. Now the victims will judge the butchers. Today the tear of the child is the judge. The grief of the mother is the prosecutor." So, and that was set to like a really like this horrible kind of like creepy kind of thing in the background. And there's a lot of songs on the Holy Bible that Manic Street Preachers album, the Holy Bible, that I don't know how the modern world would they get cancelled to fuck for talking about certain things in the modern era. I don't know, because people are increasingly sensitive about things that are talked about. Although I think the Manics discussed everything in very sensitive terms, really, but could it be seen as gratuitous or exploitative to make a album that has huge amounts of material about death camps and Nazi Germany and all of these things? How does the world view that? If you're not a German band, if you're not like struggling with your own cultural heritage or whatever, if you're, you know, a Welsh band talking about all that stuff, like how does the world view that now? I don't know whether it's different to how it was viewed in the 90s when it came out. It's interesting. So yes, but yeah, does anyone else have any other like really darkly inspired tracks from anywhere? And yes, anyone thoughts on Thanks for Playing with Us? Has anyone heard this song before, apart from anything? Because it is still quite a small niche band, Bull. They're not on things like iTunes and Spotify and all of this stuff. You do have to kind of track them down. I've still got them from like LimeWire downloads like back in the day, but they have popped up on YouTube, which is really cool because not everything has. There's one remix I've got by them of Stromkern's Writers to Nacht, which is like the best remix ever. It's literally about 13 minutes long. It's got a lot of weird shit in the middle that's not really danceable, which is a bit of a Bull trademark, having some just weird bits in the middle. But the bits that are danceable are amazing. And I keep thinking I should put it up on YouTube just so it doesn't, like, because it has disappeared off the net. I can't find it anywhere online apart from like in my music file. But I don't want to be done for copyright if I upload it and someone gives a shit. So I don't know what to do about that. But anyway, this is a waffle. I'm going to shut up, but tell me your thoughts. So over and out. Bye-bye.